Yes, lads, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be ranking Premier League managers. So I'm going to start in 20th and go all the way through to who I think is the best manager. Now, obviously, of course, success will come into this. That's probably the most important part of it. But I'm also going to look at the resources they've had and the job they've done. So it's not just going to be who's won the most. There's a lot of factors that will be brought in to create this list. So let's waste no time. Let's get straight into this. We're going to start in 20th. And of course, I think this is probably a bit of an obvious one. 20th place, I'm going to go for Daniel Farke. Is he a decent manager? Yes. Is he realistically a Premier League manager? Maybe. But in terms of getting a team anywhere away from the relegation zone, Daniel Farke for me is not that guy. He's a good Championship manager that when he made the jump wasn't quite able to do it. Don't get me wrong, that Norwich side, there wasn't tons of investment. We'll see. Maybe he can prove me wrong this season with Leeds where he has had investment. But for me personally, bottom of the pile, Daniel Farke. 19th place, despite a fantastic start to life in management, I'm going to go for Keith Andrews. To be honest with you, I just don't think he's proven enough for me to put him any higher. I'm surprised. He's actually done a far better job than I thought he was going to do. But ultimately, in terms of the other names on this list, I couldn't put him any higher than 19th. Don't get me wrong, this of course could change if he keeps this Brentford side up, and even better if he can push them towards mid-table. I will take my hat off and say yes, he's a very solid manager. As I say, a bit of a surprise he's doing as well as he is, but I can't justify putting him any higher than 19th, as I say. So Keith Andrews, 19th. 18th place, I'm going to go for Vitor Pereira. I just don't necessarily think he's been able to show his true managerial ability at Wolves. I think the Wolves side is a doomed side destined for relegation or stagnation at the very best. So he's got a very difficult job on his hands. I'm very well aware of that. But for me, as I say, just hasn't proven enough in the Premier League that he is that sort of manager that can drive a team up the table. So therefore, I've got to put him in the relegation zone, if you will, of managers. So 18th place. Vitor Pereira, just not enough for me. 17th place, I'm going to go with Regis Lebris of Sunderland. Obviously came over from French football last season. Did he tear things up with Sunderland last year? He didn't really. He finished just inside the playoffs. Again, take nothing away from the job that he's done. Very, very solid. And they do play some lovely football at times. But I just don't think he's got quite enough as a manager to push him any higher than I've got him. I think he's done a good job at Sunderland, don't get me wrong. The problem for me is in terms of tactically and longevity throughout the season. That's where I'm a little bit up in the air on him. Don't get me wrong, he's made a great start to life this season for Sunderland, but he did so last season in the Championship. They started on fire, and then ultimately they did fall off at the midpoint of the season. So we'll have to see on this one, but I do think that the job he has done so far warrants him getting over the other managers I've already mentioned. 16th place, I've gone for Scott Parker. Now, Scott Parker, to me, is a very solid manager. I wouldn't say he's a great manager or a good manager. I just think he's very solid. Why I've put him above the rest, because realistically, these are the sort of bottom tier managers in the Premier League, in my opinion. But the why he's top of the bottom, if you will, it's just because of his defensive record last season. So impressive. The few goals they did concede, whilst also matching the record points total, nearly getting it ahead of Leeds on the last day of the season as well. And this season, they've started and shown they're a side that can be very resolute in defence, even after losing a couple of key players in that defence from last season. So Scott Parker, to me, has potential to be an established Premier League manager. He's still relatively young. I mean, I remember when he played football, that wasn't that long ago. So yeah, Scott Parker, due to his sort of defensive prowess and also setting up a team to be difficult to play against, I've popped him higher than the rest, but still in the bottom tier for me. So 16th place was Scott Parker. Now then, this is where it gets a little bit tasty. So 15th place, I have got Ruben Amorim. Now, a lot of people may think he deserves to be higher than 15th, and 15th's a bit insulting to him, but let's be real, right? He did a very good job at Sporting. No one doubts that. They were very successful. That shape that he formed at Sporting was so good. It suited that team and that league so well. He's come to Manchester United and has the worst managerial record since World War II. The shape that he plays has been exploited by higher class managers in the Premier League, and he just shows no sign of adaptation or wanting to change his style of play, which admirable, some may say. I look at it and think he's naive and thinking he can just come over here, apply one style of play, and that is it. And Manchester United have suffered because of it. So in terms of what he's done in Portugal, decent. Come to Manchester United in England, he's demonstrated relegation form, if we're going to be honest. So Ruben Amorim, for me, he cannot go any higher than the other managers above him. He's won nothing, he's achieved nothing. Like, genuinely, it's been such a dismal time for him. So therefore, 15th place, Ruben Amorim. 14th place, we've got a new manager to the Premier League that we've seen before. It is Nottingham Forest, Ange Postecoglou. A decent manager. Love his style of play. If you can get a squad that really buys into it and can, execute what he wants, I absolutely love it. Like, high pressure, up the pitch, fullbacks bombing forward. Everything about it is fantastic. Defensively, shambolic at times, but that's why Ange is further down. What he did at Spurs was all right. He won them their first trophy. It's the Europa League trophy. Great stuff. But look who he was against in the final. He was against Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. Of course he won. And it takes nothing away from Spurs. But ultimately, they should have won that trophy. Either them or Manchester United were the best teams in that competition. But at the same time, they finished in 17th. That is just unacceptable. You cannot be a good manager and win your side the Europa League and finish so down in the table. I'm just not having it. People can say injuries and this and that. Listen, I think if that's the case, he needed to adapt his style of play. He didn't. That's more admirable to me than Ruben Amorim, but still, it didn't work. Plain and simple, it didn't work. So 13th place then, I'm going to go with Fabian Hürzeler, the youngest manager in the Premier League. Had a very decent start, I'd say. Inexperienced as a manager, of course, but seems to just be able to grind out results and just make sure that Brighton don't fall any lower than they were, but at the same time, they haven't really pushed on. The Brighton transfer model will probably be one of the reasons why he's not doing better, in my opinion. Of course, they get loads of money in, they sell their key players, and they've already got replacements here and there. So in terms of the Brighton style, I think any manager that goes there has a ceiling and a limit as how far you can actually take this team, but he's done a good job, and I genuinely think with the years to come, a team like Manchester City, when Pep Guardiola goes, might be looking at him as the next best thing. And so I don't want to put him any higher than I've got him right now, but certainly the potential to go on to be one of the best managers in the world if he continues at the way he's going. 12th place, it's Nuno Espirito Santo of West Ham. Very, very keen on Nuno. I think he's a very good manager. And I think, of course, it's the behind-the-scenes stuff with Forest that's ultimately led to him leaving. But that is a big loss for Forest because he genuinely was a great coach for them that set that side up to not play pretty football, but to win football matches, which we saw Forest do a lot last year. I mean, it drove them into the European places. Don't get me wrong, they should be playing Conference League football, but they're not. They're in the Europa League, and it's all down to Nuno and how he set that team up week on week on week. They did fall short a little bit towards the end of the season, but listen, of course they did. This is a natural thing. You had a bunch of players that have never been competing in the European places, and the teams behind them, we were, Villa were one of them. We were gunning for them, literally pressure after pressure after pressure. So I look at that and think Nuno had a very solid season last year. However, I do think his style can sometimes be too negative. So that's why I put him a little bit further down than some other managers. But ultimately, West Ham have got themselves a great coach that will suit their style of play and the players they've got. So I'm expecting Nuno to do well at West Ham, especially if they do back him as well. 11th place, I've gone for Chelsea's Enzo Maresca. A lot of people might look at this and think, really? That far down? He's done a good job. He's done better than the likes of Maurizio Pochettino. Where's he now? He's the USA team coach. Not a big job. He's done better than Graham Potter. Where's he now? A failure at West Ham. So the competition to compare him with just isn't actually that good. And in terms of the job he's done, he obviously has a very specific style of play that works very well in football. It's that Pep Guardiola understudy kind of style of play. Mikel Arteta himself, it's executed really well. The problem for me is that the money that they've spent to get the players that they've got, I think he's only achieved what he should have achieved. And when I look at what they do tactically, I don't necessarily think in terms of his in-game management, he is the best manager in this league by a long way. I mean, I've questioned quite a few of his subs so far this season, and overall, he'll steadily get you to where you want to get to. But Chelsea as a football club are looking to win the Premier League and challenge in Europe in the Champions League. He's not the guy to do that. I'm going to be honest, he's not the guy to do that, but I am. But, listen, I'm still a fan of Maresca. I don't think he's a bad manager. He's still very new to management, don't forget that. But if he wasn't the Chelsea manager, sort of gunning for the Premier League title, and he was someone like the West Ham manager, or even Aston Villa if Unai Emery ever leaves us, I think that's a great place for him to be. I just think Chelsea is the wrong club for him. But we'll see how he gets on this season. At the minute, though, 11th place, Enzo Maresca. 10th place, it's a Premier League legend of a manager. It's David Moyes of Everton, back at Everton after all those years. And the reason why he is slightly higher than someone like a Maresca, who obviously won the Club World Cup, if we're even, accrediting that to manager success. But David Moyes at Everton, at West Ham previously, even at Manchester United, when you look back, he did a good job. He was good enough at Manchester United. So David Moyes, you know what you get. He can work on a budget. He sets his team up to play for the badge. And just, you've never seen a David Moyes side that doesn't bust a bollock to try and get back or anything like that. So for me, the way he sets up his side, the success he's had as a manager in the Premier League, it's not easy to not have the biggest budget and remain a constant in the Premier League. He took West Ham to European glory. Yeah, there's not much to say on David Moyes. We all know how good of a manager he is. So for me, he pipped the rest to 10th place, and he is the start of the top half of Premier League managers. 9th place, I've gone for Fulham's Marco Silva. Really like Marco Silva. I think he's done such a good job at Fulham. You watch how they play, they grind out big results, and they don't have the biggest budget. It's not the kind of club as well that has these passionate fans with loads of revenue coming in. So Fulham are always going to find it difficult to sort of push on in the Premier League, but under him, they've actually managed to do so. He gets the best out of players. He shifts players around in terms of their position. Genuinely a great coach, and when he does inevitably leave Fulham, I'm going to imagine it's going to be for a far bigger job than Fulham, and that's no disrespect to Fulham because I do think they're a solid club, but he, for me personally, could go on to do much higher Champions League, Europa League level clubs, and I think we will see that. So Marco Silva for me, up in 9th place, a really good manager. 8th place, we've got Bournemouth's Andoni Iraola. Great manager. Now, he has not been on the scene in terms of the Premier League for that long, if we're going to be honest, but the job he's done at Bournemouth, I think he is such a good coach. I mean, look at them last season. So, obviously, the recruitment is part of it. Let's not take away from the behind the scenes of Bournemouth. But on the pitch, the way that he coached Hodgson, the way that he coached Kirkes, the way that he coached even Kepa to sort of get the best out of him, of course, as well, I've just completely forgot his name, the guy that went to PSG. You all know who I mean. Zabani. That's it, I think. But the fact that he coached him to the level that he got him to as well as the forwards in Semenyo, Cliver, etc., I think he's a fantastic coach. Similar to Marco Silva. Bournemouth, of course, listen, it's not the biggest job in world football, but he could certainly go and push on to get a bigger club. And there's already rumours of this happening. Whether it will or not, we'll have to see. But he's had a great start to this season after having to reshuffle his whole back line. And in terms of the way he sets a team up, so nice to watch. And tactically, against whatever team he's playing against, he'll tweak, he'll change. Exactly what I personally love in a manager that can show they can adapt and really get the best out of their team no matter who they're playing against. 7th place, I have got Tottenham's Thomas Frank. So good at Brentford. The job he did with Brentford is genuinely phenomenal. He took them from the Championship all the way to the Premier League, and now it looks as though they're Premier League regulars. Keith Andrews is doing a great job, and the fact that he's doing such a great job to me is all because of the work that Thomas Frank did prior. So Thomas Frank now at Spurs, showing his class. I will be honest, it's not been the best start at Spurs. It's been decent in places and a few shock results here and there, but he'll get it sorted. We've seen he can change his style of play, and again, tactically so good, and he will tweak and change things depending on who he's playing against, and not just rely on a system that he's created. So we saw it with Brentford, we're seeing it with Tottenham. He tweaks and changes things, and just overall, I think he's such a solid manager. Another one that has got a big job, but could be, destined for even higher in the years to come. I'm talking the big clubs. I'm talking Real Madrid, Barcelona, etc., etc. So yeah, Thomas Frank sitting nicely in 7th place. In 6th place, Arsenal fans, you're not going to like this. It is Mikel Arteta. And this is a genuine thought. This isn't trying to get clicks and whatever. This is genuinely Mikel Arteta for me, with the budget that he's had, the squad of players that he has, the fact that he hasn't won anything of note, if we're going to be honest. I just can't put him any higher, because what he's done is what he's expected to have done. He challenged Man City in that one season so close, and I really thought he was going to get it, but they fell apart at the big moment. We've also seen it the season after. We've seen it at times so far this season. Obviously, that win against Newcastle the other day, that is huge for him, and that is a step in the right direction. But let's not get it twisted. Arsenal Football Club have spent millions and millions and millions of pounds and achieved nothing. Do I like Mikel Arteta? Yes. Is he still young in his managerial journey? Of course he is. So I do think he'll go on to hit the heights of the Champions League and the Premier League. But personally for me, it's just not happened yet, and so I can't justify putting him above other people. For example, I'll go straight on to who is next, and that's Eddie Howe. We'll get to him in a minute. But the job that Eddie Howe has done at Newcastle, for me, outweighs the job that Mikel Arteta's done, because Mikel Arteta has achieved what he was supposed to achieve, and Eddie Howe has exceeded that. So that's why I've got Mikel Arteta there. In the future, though, will that change? As I say, I think it will. He's a youngish coach still. Give him time. I like him, but I can't put him higher than other managers. He needs to win more. It's plain and simple. So as I say, in 5th place, it's Eddie Howe, and he has achieved so much for Newcastle. When they hired him, of course, they were linked, for example, with Unai Emery. They were linked with Antonio Conte, and they got Eddie Howe. And you couldn't help but feel that, oh, God, okay, that's a slight bit disappointing in terms of who they ended up getting. But it has worked so well for Newcastle. Watch a Newcastle side play. They are one of the most exciting and fun teams to watch as a neutral fan, because Eddie Howe sets them up to be so hard to play against. This season, for example, the best defence in the league. But in terms of going forward, there's pace, power, nice intricate passes. Eddie Howe is such an underrated coach, in my opinion. He guided them to that first trophy in so many years. Such a big moment for the club, and he was instrumental in that. I'll be honest, I thought Eddie Howe had a ceiling. I'm now thinking maybe he doesn't. And one day when Thomas Tuchel leaves England, I would love nothing more than Eddie Howe to become the England manager. He's by far the best English coach that is out there at the moment. So impressive. So Eddie Howe for me pips it ahead of Mikel Arteta, and my reasoning is because he's overachieved, whereas Mikel Arteta has just achieved what he should have done. Eddie Howe, a big ceiling in terms of where he can go, and as I say, I'd like to see him at England, hopefully with us winning the Euros or a World Cup. 4th place, I'm going to go for Oliver Glasner. What a job he has done at Crystal Palace. I mean, the fact that they won the FA Cup is absolutely massive. What a moment that was for Crystal Palace fans. They've been robbed of the Europa League as well. A complete disgrace, but they should have been playing Europa League football. Instead, they're playing Conference League. And listen, I think they'll go on and win that as well. They are such a good side. As an Aston Villa fan, believe me, these guys are somehow our kryptonite. So impressive the way they set up. They are so difficult to break down. That back three is so resolute constantly. And then the fullbacks bombing forward, but also so good at getting back in defensively. They've got Will Hughes, Adam Wharton in that defensive midfield sort of area. Unbelievably solid as well, but also so technically creative. So the squad he's built, of course, is fantastic, but it's just the way that his system works. And listen, Unai Emery, as an example, I just mentioned, they are Villa's kryptonite. Unai Emery is a master tactician, and Oliver Glasner has his number. And it's not just Unai Emery, it's other managers in this league. So for me, Glasner, he's got a huge ceiling. I think he will go to a bigger club than Crystal Palace, and that's no disrespect to Palace. But of course, he's going to want to go on. He's going to want to fight in the Champions League and more, where the money is. I mentioned previously, is Enzo Maresca the guy to take Chelsea forward? I'm not sure. Would Oliver Glasner be a better fit? Maybe so. So keep an eye on Oliver Glasner. He will likely move on, but he's proven again this season that he is one of the best managers in this league, in my opinion, and the job he's doing at Palace is superb. Third place, it is Unai Emery of Aston Villa. What a manager he is. He has completely overachieved at Aston Villa. And I know a lot of people will say, well, Villa have spent money, etc., etc. Look at the net spend since he's come in. It really is not the case. I won't say a miracle worker, but look at the squad that Villa put out on a weekly basis. Dean Smith signings, Steven Gerrard signings. It's just a testament to either how good Villa's recruitment is or actually how good Unai Emery is as a manager of taking players to the next level. The Rashford situation last season, getting him back into the England squad, getting him his move to Barcelona, that should show you everything you need to know about Unai Emery in terms of his man management, but also tactically. Every game I feel as though he has a plan, similar to other managers like Iriola, like Glasner, has a plan and plays against that team and sets his team up specifically for that. So for me, a massive achievement that he's had at Aston Villa, but it's testament to the previous successes of Unai Emery. He's won so many Europa League trophies, more than any other manager, and don't forget he took that PSG side that no manager was able to do when they had Mbappe and Neymar. He took them to the final, nearly won it as well. So he, for me, is one of the best managers in this league. And again, it's not a miracle what he's done at Villa, but it gets so overlooked because, wow, Villa, yeah, they've spent a lot of money. It's not the case. Go and look into it. He has done a phenomenal job at Aston Villa, and I am worried that one day he will leave us, of course, but hopefully this season and many seasons to come, he'll be the Aston Villa manager and take us forward again and again and again, and hopefully back to the Champions League. Second place, it's Liverpool's Arne Slot. Listen, this guy came to the Premier League, made, I think, one signing in Chiesa, and won the Premier League with the same squad that Jurgen Klopp left him with. That is unbelievably impressive. And now they've spent their money, they've backed their man, and I think he might even go on to win it again. It's going to be between the two teams I talk about here, Liverpool and Manchester City. But for me, I just think that Slot is so good. I mean, look, watch his team play. Not only are they good defensively, but the fullbacks bomb on. Very exciting. You've also got Gravenberch that pulls strings in the middle, as well as McAllister that does the same thing. And it's all of this sort of like prime Barcelona tiki-taka style of football, but also at the same time, they will blitz you on the counter. They press when they need to, and then they don't. They're so fluid in terms of how the system can be, and it's all a testament to him and how he set his team up. What's crazy is, okay, before this window, because they've signed a lot of players, last season, Klopp's Liverpool against Arne Slot's Liverpool, it is a bloodbath. Arne Slot's Liverpool absolutely battered them. And that's not because Liverpool's side under Klopp was a bad side. It's because of how good Arne Slot is. I mean, look at him. Mo Salah was slightly slowing down. No, under Arne Slot, he's absolutely thriving. So for me, second place, Arne Slot, Premier League champions, and he will have his eyes firmly on that Premier League again, but also the Champions League as well. So a huge future in English football and world football for Arne Slot. Number one then, Manchester City's Pep Guardiola, the GOAT, the best manager of all time. He's better than Fergie in terms of what he's won. The facts are there, but also the fact he's done it in multiple different leagues, and his whole style of football, it's influenced a generation of football. Are we seeing a bit of a shift now? I think we are, but for the last 5-10 years, I mean, Sunday league teams pass out from the back now because of Pep Guardiola. His influence on the game is second to none. And in terms of a Premier League manager, as I say, he won 4 in a row, an unbelievable achievement from Pep Guardiola. That Manchester City side, it was a joke. Let's not get it twisted. But he is the middle of it. He's the centre, the hub. Everything that's good about Manchester City comes from him. Do some people criticise the way he coaches players? Yes. But look at Jack Grealish, for example. A player that was pepped, if we'll call it that, and was changed the way he played, and it was, the fluid, free-flowing Jack Grealish was no longer there. He's now gone to Everton, and you're seeing the best of both. You're seeing the pep in him and the previous Dean Smith, I guess, in him. And that is what Pep Guardiola does so well. He literally is the greatest of all time. I don't think there's even a debate, and he will certainly go down as that. Next step for him, international management, and hopefully, listen, if it's not Eddie Howe, make it Pep Guardiola, please. But he'll go to international management, he'll win a World Cup, and he'll solidify himself as the greatest of all time. But certainly with the managers we've got in the Premier League at the minute, it is a no contest. Pep Guardiola, #1, and it will stay like that for as long as he is the Manchester City manager. So that is the end of the video. 20 managers ranked from 20th to 1st. Listen, I'll tell you now, it's actually a lot harder than you think to rank these guys, especially in the middle. There's a lot of places that could, they could change and overlap even as the season goes on. So yeah, for me, a very difficult thing to do, but I'm happy with the selection. I think I've got it spot on. Let me know in the comments who you've got first, who you've got last, and if I've said your managers lower down or higher than you think they are, let me know as well. But of course, we've got regular Premier League reviews out at the moment, and we've got more content coming in the next few weeks. A couple of documentary style videos that I'm very excited for. So if you like the content, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you as always on the next one.